Sceptical house. It's quite an iconic building. We've got pictures here of the filming when it was going on outside. We've had people having like 50th birthday parties. It's never quiet at Sceptical house. It's a vintage Chesterfield that we've had upcycled and converted into a sofa bed. It's just a really, really gorgeous spot. We got it revalued at 1.5 million. Hi everybody, I'm Sarah McDermott and this is my husband Sean.
Hello.
And this is one of our fabulous holiday homes. So this is Sceptical house. Some of you might recognise this property. It's actually the original veterinary surgery from All Creatures Great and Small. So it's quite an iconic building. And actually even all the way through the refurb, we were getting tourists arriving every day wanting to come in and look around the place. One day we found a couple of old ladies upstairs wandering around when it was a full building site. We had to escort them out quickly. So follow me, come in and I'll give you a little tour of the place. So this is the entrance hallway. Mrs Hall actually in the series would often greet James and Siegfried Farnham when they came in. So if we go into this room here, this room is called the surgery. Now this is just a bit of an event space that people who are staying in one of the rooms here can actually use this space as well. It's a lovely room that's been decorated with a kind of nod to the surgery. We've got lots of vintage veterinary equipment that was donated to us. We've got pictures here of the filming when it was going on outside. Lovely vintage furniture in here as well. So it's quite a quirky little space. We've had people having like 50th birthday parties and afternoon teas and all kinds of things in here whilst they're here with their friends and family. Now we can only get into 2 of the apartments or studios today because the rest are fully booked, which is good. It's usually a quiet time of year, but it's never quiet at Sceptical house. This is the Tricky Woo suite. Strange name you might think, but it's named after Tricky Woo, who is Mrs Pumphrey's fat dog in the series, who always happens to be in the vets because Mrs Pumphrey's been feeding him caviar and champagne and chocolate and other things that doggies shouldn't really have. So into the kitchen here, everybody gets a bottle of fizz on arrival. All our kitchens are made by Kessler, really super high end. And then if you come through into the lounge, so this is the only one that's actually a 1-bedroom apartment. That's our little Tricky Woo there, but he's a bit skinny. We couldn't get a fat Tricky Woo, so we've had to put up with this one. Quite surprised nobody's pinched him yet though. That sofa bed there, the Chesterfield one, is actually a sofa bed. It's a vintage Chesterfield that we've had upcycled and converted into a sofa bed. So that's just a way that you can use vintage furniture and bring them into the modern world. We'll go through here now. This is the bedroom. The Tricky Woo suite. So we've got a fabulous freestanding bath in the bedroom as well, and some lovely vintage furniture and a fabulous bed. So I'm just going to take you up into the Farnham on the top floor now. We've got this beautiful old staircase, which we wanted to obviously keep and just restore it as it is. So here we have the Farnham, which is named after Siegfried Farnham in the series. This is one of the studios. It's a really fabulous room. This is one of my favourites. So I love the bed. We've got some real feature beds in here. And then if you come over here, we've got some lovely views out of the windows over the Dales. It's just a really, really gorgeous spot. I designed the beds and we had them bespoke made. I actually watched back the original series to get the colour theme because I wanted to really bring in the feeling of the All Creatures Great and Small world into the place. So the green cord has been inspired by the vet's trousers. I went into our usual bed suppliers and they had a sofa there and the sofa had that green cord on, and they're like, oh yeah, but you can't get that on the beds. But actually after a little bit of negotiating, they managed to order the fabric from the sofa company, get it made fire retardant for beds, and then sent it to the bed company and got them to bespoke make the headboards with that fabric on it. And then in here we've got a lovely kitchen as well with views out over Askrig village, so you can sit there on a morning having your coffee and your croissant looking out over the village. So our kitchens in here are quite small, but they're all perfectly formed, so we've got everything that you could possibly need to do your cooking in here as well. We always equip them to an exceptionally high standard. Even baking scales and baking equipment are in these small kitchens, so you've got literally everything there that you could possibly need. All the appliances are Neff, and they've all got dishwashers. Nobody wants to do the pots when they're on the holidays. Fridges here as well, and we give everybody a water filter so they don't have to use bottled water because sustainability is really high on our checklist. So that's it for the Farnham suite. This is one of our many holiday homes that we've now acquired, but it hasn't always been like that. I'll just go back a little bit. rewind and tell you about how I started in property and how I came to meet Progressive. So a few years ago, 4.5 years ago, I was a private investigator, and I used to spend a lot of my time sitting in cars on surveillance jobs, following dodgy characters around everywhere, all quite entertaining that unfortunately I can't tell you about on camera. But one day, whilst on a surveillance job, waiting for a very suspicious character to come out of a house, I was sat there for 8 hours and quite bored, so I decided to listen to an audiobook. So I went onto Audible, and I was very interested in wealth building and bettering myself. So this book popped up as a recommended option called Money by a man called Rob Moore. I was completely drawn into it. I thought, this is fabulous. So I immediately then downloaded another one, 44 Secrets of Property Investing. So I got that one. Within the space of a month, I'd listened to all of Rob and Mark's books. And I said to my husband, I said, come on, we've got to do this, Sean, we've got to do this, we can do this. You know, we didn't have very much experience in property other than renovating our own houses that we'd lived in before, so it was all new to us, but from the information that we got from the books, we felt quite confident. I actually messaged Rob at that point and said, oh, you know, I'm a private investigator, I've been listening to your audiobooks whilst I'm on surveillance jobs, which he thought was hilarious, and sent me a message back saying, oh, that's so funny, I've never heard of this before. Why don't you come down to one of our events? And he told me about one called Masopi, Multiple Streams of Property Income. So off Sean and I went down to Masopi, and we were two typically tight Yorkshire people, you know, arms folded, purses folded even tighter, saying, you know, we're absolutely not going to spend a penny. We've just come for the free information, we're not going to spend a penny. That's a very typically Yorkshire attitude. So we got there, and the whole experience was just absolutely amazing. You know, when you have one of those days where you've just constantly got light bulb moment after light bulb moment after light bulb moment, we were just being bombarded with all this information. Within the course of the 3 days, we softened up a little bit, and we went from declaring that we weren't going to spend any money whatsoever to actually blowing £50,000 that we couldn't afford and sticking it on credit cards. And we bought what was called at the time the Plutonium Plus package, which was a trip to Grand Cayman to do a mastermind session with a select number of businesses, and Rob was there as well, and also to do the other courses. And now, you know, 4.5 years later, we've now got a portfolio worth 16 million, or just shy, a few quid less than 16 million when I did it a couple of days ago. And, you know, that's set to at least double next year.
Pause. I've got something really exciting to tell you. If you want access to the latest information of what is working in the property industry right now, how you can start in property, how you can scale in property, what strategies you need to be using and which ones you should be avoiding, then in the description there's a link to a free report that you can download right now and access the information that you need to start your property investment journey. Right, now let's get back to the video.
These kind of places, you know, the kinds of returns that you can get on them are just amazing. I mean, this one that we're in at the moment, Sceldale House, I'll just run through the figures on this one. So we purchased this for £600,000. It was full market value. We just paid for it because we saw this and we thought, wow, that is it's actually Sceldale House off the telly. You know, that's going to be the jewel in our Yorkshire crown, is that one. And it was actually Sean, my husband, that spotted it in the estate agent window when we just went to pick the keys up for something else, and he was like, have you seen this? He was so excited about it. It's like his dream come true. So we thought, we've got to get this. So we bought it for 600,000. We refurbed it, and the refurb came in at 243,000. So 843,000 plus a little bit more for stamp duty and legals, etc. Now, when we'd had the bridging people come out initially, the surveyor there had actually done a GDV on it, and he reckoned it was going to be worth 975,000 when we finished it. He'd put his refurb costs lower, actually. He'd estimated it on a standard refurb, and I think he'd put 110,000 for the refurb. We spent 243. So we blew his refurb costs out of the window by 130 grand. However, we got it revalued at 1.5 million. So 840 in, 1.5 million at the end valuation, and that just shows you the difference between doing something like a standard refurb on something and really going to town with the opulence. You know, you don't have to spend that much more if you're clever, and if you build really good relationships with your suppliers, which we do, you know, there are ways and means of furnishing something really fabulously at actually a really cost-effective price. So that's what we did, and you know, since that we've done another one at Whitby, which we had a very similar result with. You know, we purchased it for 400,000, just shy of 250 on the refurb, so 650 all in, got it revalued at 1.2 million. It's a very common theme. All of our properties, absolutely every single one of them, we've managed to refinance at 65 or 75% and pull all of the investor funds out. So this one we only needed to refinance it at 65%, so we've still got 35% equity in it, and we paid all the investors back. Whitby we did the same and actually got £60,000 in our back pocket as well. The best thing about this property, as well as, you know, actually owning it and having not put any money into it, is the income that it brings as well. It's a popular location in the Yorkshire Dales, and people want to come here for the holidays, and this one turns over about £27,000 a month on average. So, you know, and again, that's a similar theme with our other properties as well. This is 6 studios and 1 small apartment, but even the properties that are big houses, so we've got York and Robin Hood's Bay that are big houses, Aysgarth Nook, which is a big house, and they often turn over up to £20,000 a month each as well, you know. Essentially, these properties are costing us nothing. We've never spent a penny of our own money on any of them. You know, Sean and I didn't come from wealthy backgrounds. We both grew up on a council estate in Leeds in single parent families. I'll just backtrack and just tell you a little bit about the Raising Investor Finance course that we did at Progressive. So that was with Tony Gargan, and Tony's fantastic. She's so inspiring and she's such a lovely lady. But we went there, and before we went in I was like, oh God, who's going to even lend us 10 grand? You know, someone we don't know, why would they lend us any money? Anyway, I did that course, soaked it all up like a sponge, and the following weekend I raised £600,000 in investor finance in 2 days. It's just a mindset thing really. I just felt, you know, after doing the course with Tony, I thought there's absolutely no reason why we can't do it. The great thing about Progressive, not just the courses that they offer, but also the networking as well, just being part of such a vast community of like-minded people who are all so incredibly supportive and just want to help each other. You know, if you're on the Facebook group at the moment, you know you can just pop on there anytime, ask a question, and you will get a zillion responses. You know, the majority of them very helpful as well, so that's good. But there's also the networking events that they hold. Sean and I, especially in the beginning, went to quite a few of the networking events, and you know, we went to our local ones, our Leeds PPNs as well. And actually, the first PPN that we ever went to, we bumped into a lady called Suzanne who told us all about property sourcing and how to do that. You know, she mentioned that to us. She was doing it at the time, and she gave us some guidance. And you know, we've now got a property sourcing company that we run alongside everything else. So you know, that was incredibly useful. Down at one of the networking events that we went down at Progressive Property, we actually bumped into a lady there who came up to us and said, you know, she really liked what we were doing and she'd really like to work with us, and she has connections with a lot of people with a lot of money. So she was one of our first investors, and then not only her, but she has continued to send her friends and her acquaintances to us ever since then. There's not really a better place to meet property investors other than in a room full of property people. It just makes complete sense. So if you are sitting on the fence at all and wondering whether you should do a Progressive course or go to the Masopi, absolutely. You know, don't even think about it. Just look at us, you know, where we came from and where we are now. You know, do you think I regret spending that £50,000 that we couldn't afford? I knew it was going to put us into a very uncomfortable position. We couldn't afford it, and actually we decided to stop our other jobs as well and just go in, you know, head first and put ourselves into a very uncomfortable position. But do you know what putting yourself into an uncomfortable position does? It makes you get out of it again. And you know, again, I'm not recommending that you should stick £50,000 on a credit card at all. You know, we did that. We knew that we could get ourselves out of it, but I'm not saying you should do that. But we invested £50,000 initially. We've ended up with a £16 million portfolio less than 5 years later. You know, so absolutely 100%. If you are thinking about it at all, stop thinking about it. Stop procrastinating. Just do it. Just get on with it. Just get out of your own way. Move yourself aside and just do it.